Ghanaians currently living in the United Kingdom. And each of these 200,000 persons have one problem or the other they have to deal with regards to being Ghanaian. What are some of these problems? And after a few months of voting yes Brexit, it has become a reality. What is in it for Ghana with regards to Brexit? More advantages over disadvantages? More opportunities? Or what's going to really happen? Will it boom the business industry with regards to the two countries? Well, I don't really have the answers. The person who does is Ghana's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, His Excellency Papa Owusu Ankoma, and we are here at the Belgrave Square inside Belgravia in the United Kingdom, specifically at his office, to get answers to all of these questions and more. Come with me. Good morning, His Excellency Papa Owusu Ankoma.
Morning.
And thanks for having us in your office.
It's a pleasure.
So, His Excellency, over 3 months of assuming office, how has it been?
Oh, it's been quite interesting and challenging. I mean, I came at a time when we were in summer, so I took the opportunity to engage the Ghanaian community in the United Kingdom, in London, and outside London. Had some interactions with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, Parliament, and West African business groups here. So I would say that presently I've settled down.
Wow. Looks like you've been doing a lot of work.
Oh, not a lot of work as compared to what I was doing previously. You know, I was a member of Parliament. And being a member of Parliament in Ghana involves a lot, particularly when it comes to interaction with your community. So all in all, it's been quite an interesting 3 months. We are looking forward to what is in store for us. I mean, as you know, now what has been engaged in the administration in the UK, the establishment, is Brexit. So we are all waiting anxiously as to what the outcome would be. And see how best as a nation and as an African group we can benefit from Brexit.
Now, you before we talk about Brexit, you mentioned earlier that you've been touching base with the Ghanaian community now here, interacting with them. What have they been telling you in terms of problems that they face?
Oh, their major problem, I mean, is with the passport. Well, I mean, the passport is £180 to acquire a passport, and they say the cost is quite steep as compared to what you know it costs to acquire a passport back home. And they talk about the period, the length is 5 years and so forth. Well, we've done our best as a mission. We've written to Accra. I received a petition for some 2,000 Ghanaians, and I believe that it's being worked on in Accra. It's my expectation that in the budget for 2018, probably the costs will be reviewed downwards because it's a financial measure. It was Parliament that imposed that fee, and so it's Parliament that can vary it, and it's done with a budget cycle. So hopefully in the 2018 budget, which may be presented latest in the early part of December. Normally our passports has been 10 years. Now, according to international convention, because of technology, they don't encourage passports to be given for more than 5 years because technology may change. Ghana has just started with the biometric. I know that for some countries they've changed it. They even have this, it's a pin or something they said in the passport. So the technology is changing, and you know the threats in global threats, security threats, when it comes to terrorism and money laundering, etc. So The accepted length of time is 5 years, because as a country, we don't think we've made the technological strides that will enable us monitor, persons who have been identified as posing security threats. Okay. That's why it's 5 years.
Okay.
Yes, and try to explain it to the Ghanaians resident here, even though they are not too happy. But I guess
it's working.
Take it from there.
Okay.
Take from there. Yeah.
Right. So I think now in reality befalls us Brexit. Yes, we heard about it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but it looks like it's actually staring at us in the face.
Yes.
Before it became real, I mean, there were different concerns. Now that it's almost real and it's here with us, looks like we've got to deal with it differently. So, first of all, what's going to be the Brexit impact on Ghana?
Well, I mean, for me, Brexit, the outcome can only create opportunities for Ghana, in the sense that, well, we've been negotiating and dealing with the European Union as a bloc. Now, Britain or United Kingdom will have the opportunity to deal with, engage in separate agreements with countries. Of course, we cannot be worse off, but we are hoping that with that, in terms of access to the UK market, and even for human resource engagements here, it will create some advantages for Ghana and Africa in general, because indeed here, when it comes to employment, I mean, the first preference goes to EU citizens.
EU citizens, yes.
So, of course, since coming, I've realized that a lot of jobs which previously may have been done by Africans or non-EU citizens, of course, it's now being done by EU citizens. And if you want to engage a non-British, your first option is to look within the EU before you go outside the EU. So probably with UK getting out of the EU with Brexit, it may create more opportunities for us. So we then have to position ourselves so that we can take advantage of it. And in that sense, for me as a representative of the nation, I've been urging the UK establishment, members of the establishment, to be looking to Africa
rather than
Asia. No, I mean, the fact is that, in terms of trade, I mean, the trade between the UK and Asia is far, 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 far larger than that of Africa. Ghana is just a small part of Africa.
Yes.
So as an African group here, we're trying to see how we can get advantage. And of course, even beyond that, as members of the Commonwealth, how we can create synergies that will enable those of us who are in Africa and belong to the Commonwealth can, as it were, get a greater stake in the trade. Yes, that's what we are working on.
Okay, so with regards to human resource engagements, do you see more numbers? There are already 9,000 plus Ghanaians living here. Do you see that number increasing?
9,000. I mean, no. 9,000. No, it can't.
It won't be up to 9,000.
No, it will be far, far beyond. Far beyond. Look, I don't think that the Ghanaians resident in the United Kingdom will be less than 200,000. No, I mean,
that's a huge number. You're presiding over.
No. I mean, we are trying to get the records. There are many Ghanaians who are also UK citizens.
Yes.
So we have UK citizens of Ghanaian origin. You have second generation, you have third generation. The idea now is to try and encourage even the second and third generation UK citizens of Ghanaian descent to know that they are Ghanaians, because once one of your parents is a Ghanaian and you are born wherever you are born, you are also a Ghanaian, because now we have dual citizenship.
Of course.
Previously under our constitution, you couldn't be a dual citizen. Now that we have it, so we are encouraging more and more Ghanaians, UK citizens of Ghanaian descent, to see themselves as also Ghanaian. And I believe that there's now a common understanding. You know, just like you have UK citizens of Asian descent, UK citizens of Caribbean descent. You're going to have UK citizens who see themselves as, yes, UK Ghanaians, sort of, and that's what we are trying to encourage. Hence, the deepening of our engagement with the Ghanaian community. I mean, presently we have 3 members of parliament who are of Ghanaian descent.
In the British Parliament.
British Parliament, yes. I mean, even the Queen's honours for this year, I'm sure you will find some Ghanaians. I know Ghanaian councillor who is going to be honoured by Her Majesty the Queen. So, for me, and of course, look, there is no Ghanaian family that doesn't, extended family I mean, that doesn't have a member in the UK. Almost every Ghanaian has a relative in the United Kingdom. So our presence here, presence is rather large. So since I came, I've designated the United Kingdom, you know, the Ghanaian community as the 11th region of Ghana.
Obviously, we're quite a large one here.
Yes.
All right, so I mean, we can't detach ourselves from Brexit again. So let's get back in there. In as much as it is creating opportunities for Ghanaians and other Africans, let's also look at the challenges in terms of support, developmental support, budgetary allocations, you know, for those development support. Do you think Brexit will affect it in any way?
No, I have my doubts. It won't affect it. I mean, the UK has made a commitment of setting aside a certain percentage of its, you know, income for overseas development.
But you don't think getting out of
no, I don't think no, it won't shrink. If anything at all, it may rather enlarge it, because then their commitment may be greater. All right, their commitment to the EU will no longer be going to the EU when it comes to overseas development assistance. However, as a nation, whatever they are not paying to the EU, they will put back to overseas development assistance. But for us, I mean, our president has said that, look, we are now looking at a Ghana beyond aid. So for us, development assistance, we are looking more with emphasis on assistance that's going to promote trade and open markets.
Industry,
Yes, open markets here for Ghanaian products. I mean, when you talk about Ghanaian products, we're looking more at technology and agro-processing. Okay, I mean, because that is the surest way of linking our produce and the number of people engaged in agriculture into manufacturing. So that's what we were looking at.
Okay, yes. But you think those two will just be enough, agriculture and technological enhancement?
No, it's emphasis.
How we should position, how Ghana should position itself for this?
For instance, I mean, when it comes to technology, software development, etc., there are Ghanaians who are brilliant. Yes, of course. And so that is the area I believe we should be emphasizing, because then we are going to have Ghanaians resident even in Ghana being able to compete globally. And that's what we're looking at now. Yes. You see, we've gotten to a stage where we should not be concentrating on export of physical goods, but also export of technology. Right, and that's an area that we are vigorously pursuing, even with the higher education institutions, the universities. I'm having discussions with vice chancellors of various universities to see how we can improve upon our collaboration, in terms of higher education. And I've always been talking about not just bringing Ghanaian students to the United Kingdom, but an exchange program that involves, for instance, when it comes to postgraduate education, doing part in the UK university and doing part in Ghana.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I mean, for me, that's what we should create more of a secular migration, as I call it. All right. Yes.
I think that's very brilliant.
And that's it. I mean, look at you. You are here, right? The media joy. You are here. You are not here permanently.
No.
You'll be going back. But with your skills, you are able to make some inroads, albeit tiny, into the UK media landscape. And that's what we should be looking at.
Thank you.
That's part of technology mobility.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, so we go back to the business industry once again.
Yes.
I mean, the ultimate aim, or I mean, you would be a happy person if you had more and more UK firms expanding to Ghana, widening the Ghanaian market to a large extent.
Yes.
Now, are you hearing of any concerns that those businesses have?
The concerns that businesses have, I mean, it's been, lack of prompt response to inquiries, bureaucratic bottlenecks. Yes, but I believe government is working on it. I mean, we now have the paperless port. Now we'll be talking about getting businesses registered in a couple of days or something. I mean, that's all. I mean, and we have problem with land issues, even acquiring land. But I now have been encouraging the UK business community to engage in more partnerships, joint ventures.
Rather than establishing.
Yes, I mean, you
scratch.
come and establish, but it will be worth your while if you got a Ghanaian entrepreneur to partner you. You see?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, and that's what I've been encouraging. And recently, I had a discussion with GlaxoSmithKline. All right, we had a few issues in Ghana, and they use a non-Ghanaian company as a distributor of their goods, and we had a very interesting discussion. And I told them that government's direction now is to encourage partnerships, all right? Yes, so that, and it creates a win-win situation. So I'm also encouraging the Ghanaian entrepreneurs to position themselves in a way so that they can partner foreign investors in whatever area of endeavor. Right?
Sure.
Yes, and that's what really I believe should be. And of course, we are talking about infrastructural development, talking about the railways. In fact,
that was actually going to be my next
yes,
question.
I have initiated some discussions. I know the government itself has had investment fora, here since I came. About 2 of them, and discussions have been initiated where we could get those interested in the railways from, for instance, investing in it, right? Build, operate, and transfer depending on the area. So we continue to work on that. There are some businessmen who are interested in developing the Volta estuary for transport.
Yes.
No, but and then things seem quite promising, except that, as usual, always complain about the bureaucracy. But I tell them that, look, this is what we have. It has not been like this over the years. We are improving, and
it looks like
Ghana,
we're improving at a rather slower rate.
Oh well, I mean, I think now we are, after all, paperless sport. How long did it take us? Now we are improving, to make ourselves more attractive, because really the return on investment in Ghana is quite high. And I tell them that when you invest in Ghana, you are not only interested in the Ghanaian market, it's the West Africa market, the population of 200 million. So when you talk about investment in Ghana, you're talking about investment in West Africa, creating a foothold in West Africa. I mean, and our financial system is quite strong, in terms of governance and security. We are second to none in West Africa. So when you invest in Ghana with an eye to the West African market, then it means that you are thinking big.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been encouraging them.
Great. So I was here last year during the summer, and I interacted with a few people within some Ghanaian communities.
Yeah.
I met a group of people who had stayed here for a very long time, who wanted to go back home,
Yes.
but they couldn't. And I asked them what the problem was, and they said, okay, there's nothing to go back home to. Well, yes, in as much as we would want to go home, well, yes, it's not like we don't have where to sleep or what to eat. Or we do have all those things, but there's nothing to go home to. Talk about healthcare, talk about transport, talk about, all of those things.
Yeah.
I've met them again now.
Yes.
I've interacted with them.
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to go home now? Well, we've heard about free education, we've heard about, e-business transactions, we've heard about this, we've heard about that, but we're not sure if we still want to go because things can change. So to people like that, what's your
I tell them that, look, Ghana can never go back. I mean, we improve every day, and the fact that we have a stable constitutional democracy should give people assurance that things can only be better. I mean, look, I've met people who tell me that, look, things have deteriorated so much in the United Kingdom. In America, it's the same. So life involves change. Fortunately for us as a nation, as Ghana, the change is really, really, really positive. So people must be committed to relocating. I mean, I know some people who have been so happy relocating. Yeah, I mean, the Minister of Finance, for instance, he relocated from the US. The Minister of Energy, there are so many of them.
Are you looking at a lot more Ghanaians leaving the UK?
No, I mean, I'm saying that you don't even need to relocate permanently, but invest. Okay, we are talking about, we transfer money. Yes, foreign transfers, but after this. But the transfers, yes, we agree, they go to improve individual homes. But can you imagine the impact it's going to make if a group of diasporans, Ghanaian diasporans, decide to pool resources together and invest in something? I mean, and that's the area that I've been talking to them about, right? Yes, transfers to homes, fantastic, but why don't you go a step further apart from that to invest as groups? You know, and there was the Diaspora Summit, which was held. The group from London, from the UK, has submitted this report, made quite interesting recommendations.
Okay. What was all those recommendations?
I mean about corporate investment, getting together to invest in it. So, well, it will be easier for them if government were to be able to identify certain areas and then ask them to raise funds for that. It could be that. So, I mean, look, the future is interesting for our country. I am so positive. I say that, well, for our generation, we are virtually at the end of our service. However, for your generation, the generation for, look, fantastic. I come here and I've met fantastic young people. Yes.
You have fantastic
Ghanaians,
ideas.
yes. I tell them, just come. I mean, it's just that sometimes we have apprehensions. Oh, the system. What, the system? The system, yes. We have difficulties. But we have to change the system. Systems are changed by individuals. When you have young people, global perspectives, globally competitive, bring your ideas. And these are the ideas that are going to change your nation.
But how sure can an individual be that when he brings forward an idea, it would even be listened to, number one?
I mean, ideas...
It would even be considered, number two.
You know what? I mean, I always say that I look back, to 40 years ago, when I was a very young person. Now I'm seen as an old man. I'm wondering where the years went. When I was in Parliament for 20 years. I mean, I said, wow, all these years, what has happened? But my generation, you see, that's a passing generation. And that's life. All right? I mean, and it's not that you have an idea, you make a suggestion that very day to be taken.
Of course not.
You need to drive it. Drive it. Joy has been there for how many years? Is it
22?
20? Well, look at that. And Joy has made an impact. But did he make an impact
in one day?
In one day? No, you don't. When you are building a nation,
over time.
It's over time. And that's what we should understand. But I'm happy to know that, the generation that we have, the young generation we have now, fantastic. I mean, I am so happy. I'm just praying to God that by the time the generation takes over and the system improves tremendously, I'll be there to look at it. I said, look, why? As a nation, and I'm happy the president has introduced free SHS. Yeah. Of course, I mean, in the UK presently, the talk is about tuition fees in the tertiary institution. Yes, a cap being put on tuition fees. Yes. So it means that we are moving in the right direction. As a direction. Yes, look at the National Health Scheme here, right? And they are talking of improving the national health. We also have national health insurance in Ghana. So we need to go into public housing and then public transport, which we already are engaged in. So these are the things. I mean, for me, a country is as good as the systems it has put in place for the most vulnerable in the community, can be helped and also create equal opportunities.
Great.
That's what we should be looking at. Great. And we all have a part to play.
Great.
Yeah, so that's it.
Sure. His Excellency, we can't run away from the fact that in almost every country in the world now, you can find 1 or 2 Ghanaians.
Yes.
In the UK, there are, like you said, over 200,000.
Yeah.
Within these 200,000 people are quite a number of illegal immigrants. Is there any hope for them?
Well, I mean, we live in a global world. I tell people that I've met officials of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and I've said that if we have undocumented migrants, as they term it, it's because probably we make it too difficult for people to get into this country.
Okay.
You are here. You always go back to your country. You won't be here for 1 year, 2 years. But assuming you don't have the opportunity to come here for this time, probably others will find a way to come here by whatever means, and they don't want to go back because they will say that when we go back, we don't know how we'll return to the country. So yes, I mean, it's everywhere, everywhere. I mean, as for the hope, look, the laws relating to migration in this country has been tightened. One of the major issues, I believe, that influenced the yes vote for Brexit had to do with migration. It's an issue. So as Ghanaians and as Africans, we should realize that it is not easy to relocate to another country. But I've told our people here, and even the establishment here, that look, the only way you can stop people from coming here illegally is to open your markets, invest in our countries, so that our people, the young people, will have hope. I mean, in Ghana we have graduates, who don't have jobs. All right?
Yes.
We are going to have free SHS in the next 5 to 6 years. It will increase. It's our responsibility as governments and leadership to create opportunities. But we are also limited in terms of our resources. So I've been telling them, in the long run, it is better for Europe and North America to invest in Africa. Africa is the continent of the century, I tell them. If you look at the youthful population, it's an asset as well as also a liability. When it talks about consumption, that's where the market will be in the future. If you increase their income, then they can consume more and have the means. Yeah, so say that, look, it's in the interests of the whole world to invest in Africa. And Ghana can be a model for them. And I tell them, yes, we are Africa, but Ghana is a special African country because we've demonstrated our resolve to pursue a path that does not compromise free expression, human rights, and the market economy. But at the same time recognizes that it's important for the state to intervene, to level the playing field, and create opportunities for the underprivileged. Yeah.
That's great. Has it officially come to your notice if indeed there was some Ghanaians involved in the Grenfell Tower disaster?
No, I'm not aware.
No Ghanaians were.
I'm not aware as of now. I'm not aware as of now. Probably as we continue with the debate, the inquiry, we may know those who are lost. But as far as I know, there's no Ghanaians
okay,
involved.
So I can't end this interview without talking a little bit about sports.
Yes.
So, His Excellency, how can you use your highly esteemed office to help develop Ghanaian sports?
Yes, I've always said that sports, if we want to develop sports in Ghana, the answer lies in greater private sector participation in terms of sponsorship. And here, in terms of sports is private sector driven. So that's what I've been encouraging, and then seeing how in certain areas like athletics and even cricket as an emerging sport, we can encourage the UK, establishment to be interested in promoting these areas. And I mean, as for soccer, it's now professional throughout, stiff competition, but in the areas of the
lesser finance sports, as we call them.
Yes, it's not lesser known, it's lesser finance. I mean, hockey and cricket has been with us for ages. Why is it athletics? Why is it that we are not? So that's the area that we're encouraging.
Okay. Any direct things that you would want to do with that process?
No, it is too early for me. You see, I say that I've been describing myself as the chief marketer for Ghana.
Nana says he's in a hurry, so I expect that.
Yeah, we are in a hurry. But we're hoping that with investment increasing, then we could have investment also in sports, also increasing. I mean, people invest in
obviously the
private sector, then they know that sports is part. So that is conscious policy by government, I know, to pursue that. So we are here as representatives of our nation, and we'll do our best to pursue government's agenda.
Let me be a bit coy here.
Please.
Sports from when you were there under His Excellency President Kufuor, and sports as it is now in Nana Addo's era. I mean, how do you describe it? Good, bad,
I wouldn't say that. I don't think I'll be fair to myself if I say I've undertaken a serious study of sports. But I believe that things have improved, except that it could be far, 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 far better. When we talk about sports development, I believe that President Kufuor, during his time, put sports under education. It was not for nothing. You need to get a certain structured environment to be able to develop or get excellence from sports people. And it's in that structured environment that you can get the best. Right, I mean, all over the world, we have, even football clubs, they have academies. Why? What is an academy? It's a training ground.
The school system, plus the football
plus
system.
Everything. I mean, and that's the way we should be going as a nation. Free SHS. Oh, I'm sure in due time it will come. Sports will be a major component. All right, because it then gets talent, at least for a brief period, 3-year period, to be in a system, structured system, that enables them to be trained properly.
You think it was a wrong idea to detach education from sports?
I mean, well, every government and the policy, I mean, I'm saying that it has its advantages.
Okay.
It has its advantages because funding is limited, and the state's funding of sports development also has its limit. In terms of broadening the base and identifying talent and developing talent, when it's part of an educational system, especially now that we have SHS as a continuum, it helps.
Great.
Yeah. Yes.
Final question to you. Yes. I really hope that you stay through to the fullest time that you can be giving.
Okay.
By the time you leave office, what is that legacy that you would want to build?
Well, number one, the mission, having been able to get substantial investment from the UK into Ghana. I'm not ready now to give figures, but
what's your projection?
I'm sure that I'm giving myself in here 3.5 months. I'm giving myself a year, that I can then set a target for myself and the mission, and then the engagement of Ghanaians in the UK in the affairs of our country. Yes, yes. I've been pushing that Ghanaians resident overseas be given the vote. I was Attorney General when I initiated that amendment and sent it to Cabinet, and it was deferred to 2006. Yes, I mean, I want to be seen as the representative of Ghana that came to the UK and assisted the government to get the Representation of People's Amendment Act implemented to give Ghanaians in the UK and all over the world to be able to exercise their franchise at elections, public elections.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Wonderful time with you.
It's been a pleasure, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. We wish you the best too.
Go back home.
Sure.